Good morning. It's Monday and you're on the neutral zone.
And taste. I've been around for a long, long year. So many men sold away. And I was around when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain. Made damn sure that Pilate washed his hands and sealed his fate. Pleased to meet you. Hope you get by today. But what puzzling you is the
All these buttons. Good morning. This is Jason Schwartz. I am here. It's January 28th, 2019. It's funny when I say those numbers. 2019. I have a wonderful guest here today with us. You know, we're on every week and we talk about all kinds of things: art, music, ideas, water, power. I have a guest who is here, Kahu Lyons Naone, who is from Hana. Welcome to our show.
Aloha, Jason, old friend. Nice to see you.
I have known Lyons a long time ago. I remember when you were teaching La'au Lapa'au. Right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, God, I don't even know. I was very much younger at the time. Probably that's 20-something years ago.
Yeah, almost 30 years ago, I think.
Wow.
It was quite a while ago.
That was a while ago. I mean, and I always thought that this was a wonderful gentleman who learned about Hawaiian herbs and Hawaiian plant life and just really felt a lot for you. And you were doing other kind of stuff at the time, but now over these years, I've seen how you've really got out there. You're now Kahu Lyons Naone, living in Hana. Mm-hmm. What do you do out there? I know you have.
Well, you know, I was born and raised there. So.
Okay.
So you know, the La'au Lapa'au that I learned and all the Hawaiian healing that I do that I learned, my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother out in Kipuhulu, actually.
Oh boy.
And you know, my whole youthful life, from about 6 or 7 until 14, when I went away to Kamehameha schools, was basically I was helping my grandmother and learning and actually doing some La'au Lapa'au treatments on some of the kupuna over there. And so that's kind of how it started. And, you know, going for that long, you know, it stuck. And
it stuck good.
Yeah.
I remember, what I remember is that you taught us, and I'm, like I say, that was 25 years ago, when you were teaching us what these things were and how we might see them and think of them as just a weed lying there, and it actually was amazing to see that the things that were around us and how many things were right there, and the Hawaiian culture had already embraced it and was using it, and we just plow them down and spray them with Roundup.
Yeah, you know, it's the, you know, the what we call the nahelehele. Nahelehele means to grow all over the place. Those were the actual medicines. Right? Now it's hard to find because, you know, there are pesticides. Most of the places are you know, they're so particular in how they grow their things and around and things like that, that you don't find those natural. It's hard to find those natural medicines, and if you do, you have to be very careful where you pick them up from.
Well, you know, I remember when I first became a nonprofit, Bruce Beebe was here. He had Maui Epicenter, and when you'd go to his house, he lived in Keonakai Heights in Kihei. All his neighbors had manicured houses, but he had a house where he let things grow naturally. He may have planted things, but they grew naturally, and he became, you know, the one that the neighborhood didn't particularly like. But he was doing the same thing.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting because recently, about a year or so ago, I was talking about coming back and teaching La'au Lapa'au again and things like that. And somebody tried to persuade me to hook up with Hana Ranch, and that we could make a medicinal garden and things like that. And I said, no, you know, the medicines I need are the ones that are naturally up there. You know, it's not the ones that we're going to plant and cultivate and manicure. No, they're the ones that are naturally up there, and it's up to us to go up there and find them and connect with them.
One of the things that I remember when we were talking about noni, and you can have a whole grove of noni, but the one that has the most power is the one that's grown off by itself.
Right.
I thought that was that's
but
exactly what
you know. Besides that, it just isn't. Like say you're looking for noni. It's just not noni. Is not just noni. There's a noni for Jason, and it's up to me to find that one, that particular noni for Jason Schwartz that I need to get is there, and I got to connect with it. I can drive down the road and see noni all over the place, but that's not the one. And the other thing is that if I need to find noni for you, I'm going to ask you, Jason, where were you born and raised? Is there noni there? That's the noni I want to get. Why? Because the climatic conditions, the soil conditions, and everything that raised Jason is the same that raised the noni. And so I will most likely go to that place that person is from and get that medicine from that place because it is ohana to that person. If not, then I'll go to my place.
Okay.
And get it.
Brooklyn, New York. I don't think they had much noni.
Well, we go look.
Brooklyn.
We go look. Let me tell you a story. Okay.
Yeah, please.
We're on the radio, right?
That's right.
I was up in Linz, Austria, and I was going to give a La'au Lapa'au. It was called actually Hawaiian healing philosophies. And part of it was Ho'oponopono, spiritual healing, iluna'a'e, and herbal. But I thought, God, I just don't have medicines up here. And I said, the basic spiritual medicines is la'i, which is the green tea leaf, and then also popolo, right? And ohe. Those are the three spiritual ones that we use for spiritual things. And where am I going to find that? There's no way. And one day I was walking in a park up there, just kind of exercising, and for some reason I got drawn into the bushes. And I went in the bushes, and guess what I found? I found a popolo plant. Yeah, a popolo plant, which I thought only grew in the Pacific.
Yeah.
And I said, wow. And then about a week later, when I had the lecture, I went there. I asked the plant, can I take you? I need you. And it took it. And, everything was there. It looked the same, smelled the same. I didn't want to taste it because, once you put it in your mouth, if it's not the right thing, you got to be really careful with that kind of stuff, especially when you get it from a manicured or a foreign place. You have to be very careful. It may not be the same. But it was great because it gave me a chance to talk about La'au Lapa'au and a spiritual plant and this plant and the mythologies behind it and things like that. It's amazing.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that you're thinking to be. I don't know if you've been teaching it all along, probably some, but you're going to be doing it even more now. That'll be really good.
I'd like to, yes. I'm looking at different venues to do some teaching and things like that. More for education rather than for practitioners. Practitioners, you got to be very selective. You got to be careful in who you get, and there's got to be a commitment, and they have to be able to follow that discipline. So, but more for general education. Have you ever been able to
introduce it to practitioners of the Western variety? Have you seen many embrace it?
Well, to be honest with you, there are some doctors on Maui that I consult with, and they'll ask me some things about that and what they can do. They have a lot of local patients that they can't really help in a sense. They don't really know what to do. And so they'll call me and say, I have this patient and this and that, and, what can we do? I even had one doctor ask me for some noni for his mother. And so, it was interesting because I helped that, just gave him some advice on it. And
Well, I know that everyone needs to learn it. An honoring of our local culture. There's so much that we can learn from the Hawaiian culture. Some of us know that and always looking to learn, but you have so much wealth in this culture.
Well, there's so much we can learn from the plants and the animals, because a lot of times we don't know the medicine. The animals will tell us. Well, they'll show us something that said, "Oh my God," I don't know if you remember Uncle Harry Mitchell.
Oh yeah, from
K&I. Okay. Kunihi, his name was Kunihi Mitchell. Ka'alo, Kumuao, who was Papa Kalakia, and I used to be like partners. We kind of went around and did lectures and did stuff like that. But Uncle Harry Mitchell was one of the experts on being able to see a foreign medicine, a foreign plant, or an unfamiliar plant, and pick it up, taste it, and watch how the insects reacted to it. And he will tell you, okay, this is good for diabetes.
Wow.
Things like that. And so if we listen to the plants and the animals, they'll tell us what they can do.
When you mentioned that, when you talked about, you could look at them and see how the insects react. There are new things going on in the world where it's really always amazing to me that plants are incredibly sensitive to what's going on around them. Just like you say, it can look identical, but there really is a big difference. And the insect and some of these little creatures that are really close to really do know the difference, where we're all blind to it.
That people don't realize that the plants react to us. Humans, right? We are the ones that interrupt their well-being, their aloha, their whole being. And for instance, if I pick up a plant in Kipahulu, the same plant will be different if I get it from Lahaina. Right? And the reason is because sound affects it, light affects it, energy affects it. The noise of the buses going back and forth and stuff like that will change the dynamic of the plant. Right? And so, the easiest way to tell is watch mango season. Right?
Oh.
Mango season is different, right, in the town areas where there's a lot of light, right, and the country areas where there's no light. Even the fishes are different, right, because they react to light, and the things that we do as humans, we don't realize that we do things that we think are natural, normal, right, but they affect all the natural, normal plants and animals around us. And so in La'au Lapa'au, that's very important for me to understand. Okay, is this noni tree, right, in the middle of Lahaina or Kihei, or is it in Kipahulu? Big difference.
So you not only are teaching about the earth, you're probably teaching people to be a lot more sensitive and aware, just in general. Because, like you say, you have to know, but they have to also be aware of that stuff. That's a new level of sensitivity.
Yeah.
Do you find that you get interest from non-Hawaiians a lot?
Yeah. However, when we say non-Hawaiians, I'm talking about modern people.
Yeah.
They look at medicines like a pharmacy. They go there, what do I need for this? Okay, I'll go get it. I'll put it in a bottle. I'll put it on the shelf. All these type of things. Right? And for us, it's different. It's a ohana. There's a relationship between that. And so in teaching that, it's hard to teach non-native people about relationship, that the plant is actually family, and we need to bond together and become partners. And I always say that in La'au Lapa'au, there's the physical, the plant, there's the spiritual, and there's a practitioner. Right? The practitioner's job is not the healer; he's to bring them all together. To make it work, to bring the patient back to balance, and so there's a whole different concept. And
the concept that the person is involved in their own healing rather than someone outside doing it to them.
Yes, the spirituality, the plant, and the practitioner are just here to assist the real healer, which is the patient, right? if the patient isn't going to heal himself, it's not going to happen. No matter what practitioner, what medicine, what spirituality you use, it's not going to happen.
Well, you know, you grew up here. You grew up in Hana, and you learned all this, and then, I guess I don't want to use the word invasion because it already had happened. But you've been assaulted as you leave Hana forever, probably, and you've seen this island develop. To me, it looks like New York City. I flew in from Molokai into Maui, and I was like, "What is going on there?" I haven't been off Maui in 13 or 14 years. And so when I went away and then flew back, I was like, just in shock. And that's from Molokai. Molokai has got like 3 stores. I think they're down to 1 gas station or maybe 2 in town now.
Wow.
Hana similar, right? Quiet.
Well, you know, 1944, I was born. Right. And from there, you know, at that time, even the road to Hana was dirt road all the way. And if it was too rainy, muddy, you just can't make it. That's it. Right? You can go backside, Kaupo, but with wooden bridges. So it's like, you know, stuff like that. There was no Kanapali. The road to Lahaina was gravel, you know. And then, you know, growing up and watching these changes, you know, just Derry Road when it was a dirt road at one time.
And then it was
now
a Derry Road with a lake.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
When it rained.
And a big sand hill over there, you know, and stuff like that. And you know, in that Kahu industrial area, there was a swamp, right? And you know, the plantation people used to go over there and get tilapia, you know, and we used to watch that. And you know, and now, what is Maui? Wow. Oh,
I know.
You know, when my grandfather lived in Kihei, and he and my step-grandmother had a place called Auntie Becky's Tavern. Right? You're smiling, you know, you heard about that, you know. And at that time, my grandfather said to me, you know, who the heck wants to live in Kihei? You know, the only thing you have in Kihei is good fishing. Well, the only thing we don't have in Kihei now is good fishing. Right? You know, but you know, Kihei is like impossible. Right?
I mean, when we were talking about doing this show, and we're going to get to it, we were talking about aloha from an indigenous people's perspective. As someone who's been here, indigenous, all this time, to see the changes in Maui, how has the culture survived? It's almost like they're trying to keep this culture going on when there's this massive thing that's come on.
Well, you have to understand that my perspective, you know, from Kitahulu to here and to the ages and things like that. There's 3 types of aloha. Right? One type of aloha is how we interact with people. And when I say people, I'm talking about visitors, people that come from different places, people from around the world. That's one type of aloha. The second type of aloha we have is from the native people. Right? And that's the Maui aloha. When we greet and say aloha, is a different aloha, not the way we greet the tourists and everyone else on the street. We come and we honey and we do that. Okay? And there's a third way of aloha. You know, aloha exists billions of years before humanity arrived. And aloha will exist long after humanity is gone. It's up to us as humanity to understand that kind of aloha. And the more we understand that aloha, the better chance humanity will survive. You know, otherwise, you know, when we don't start becoming aloha.
How would we define? Is there such a thing as a general definition? I mean, because when we talk about wanting to share aloha around the world, which I know you're already going to Europe and sharing about the concept, how do you define it to them, or how do you give it some form for them to understand it?
you know, the key thing that you said is for them to understand it. That's the hardest part, because I've traveled a lot. I travel a lot now. In 4 days, I'm going to Europe for 6 weeks, and I've been to so many different places. And aloha seems to be the most known word out there, and everybody knows aloha is from somewhere in the Pacific. Most of them know it's from Hawaii, and what is aloha? Everybody has a different idea about aloha. They say, well, aloha should be this, should be that, and it's difficult because as a native person from where the word originated from, but aloha is the word aloha. It's in all Polynesian nations, there's that same type of greeting. Talofa, yorana, kia ora, it may, if you break it down, it may say different things, but it always means the same thing. Right? It means that, there's a way of being, there's a way you have to be, right? And there's a way of preserving. I was going to say protecting, but it's more preserving what we are and who we are and what we need to be like. How can you define aloha?
Well, when I think of aloha, I came here and I heard the word like everybody else, but it's a spirit. I think of it as representative of the Hawaiian culture, where the family structure is different and much more loving. Aunties and uncles are growing up and helping raise the kids. It's not very isolated and separated as in Western. They still have families, but they're much more family oriented and
yeah. Like I said, there were 3 types of aloha.
Yeah. One
is how we interact aloha and share aloha with the outside world, with the world at large. The other one is how we do it within our ohana, within our native people, among our native people. And the other one is how we are as we walk Mother Earth. Okay? And the aloha that most people understand is how we interact with the tourists. How we are on the Hana highway when we're driving. Aloha. And things like that. Right? What happens in the native culture? That aloha is a lot deeper. It's a lot different. A little different how we share that. Right? And basically, the aloha that I was talking about, that's part of existence, right? Every tree, every animal, they all understand and live a sense of aloha. The one who has a problem is, of course, humans. Right? We don't know how to live aloha. Right? And if you don't mind, I came down. I have some words that I use that reminds me what aloha should be. One is peace. It's got to be peace. I say a lot of times in ceremonies, especially up in Europe or in foreign countries, I sit down, I have our ceremonies, a lot of it, and I'll say, Makimaki au I maluhia I lokone. And I have an interpreter, my wife, who has a German accent, even when she speaks Hawaiian, and she'll interpret it. Right? It's a very simple way of saying, my greatest desire is to be at peace within myself. Right? Aloha is peace. Right? Dalai Lama, his greatest thing is what? Happiness. That's his greatest thing. Right? The second word in aloha is that I live by is happiness. You need peace, happiness. Next word is compassion. Next word is contentment. Right? And then you have energy, passion, ecstasy, lust. It goes from here all the way up to there. And it's important, I'm starting to go into the sexuality part, but everything started, everything natural in existence is because of some kind of sexuality. There's a male, a female, they bond, and things like that. We look at sexuality sometimes in a negative sense, but in the indigenous sense, we look at, okay, well, this is necessary. If you change this, you change that. Too much dolphin watching is going to stop the dolphins from sexuality, right? Because it interrupts their cycle, right? And so the dolphin population gets lower, and things like that. Right? And so those words that I use, peace, happiness, compassion, contentment, energy, sexuality, ecstasy, all these things from just peace up to sexuality to energy, those all represent the necessary parts of aloha. Okay? And that's the aloha from the indigenous point of view. When I say indigenous, is how we live within our Mother Earth.
Gotcha.
How we live here, that's indigenous. Cultural is how we live among each other as Hawaiian people.
I was just going to say, we're going to take a break here. I'm with Lyons Naone. I'm Jason Schwartz. We're going to take a break for our underwriters, and then we'll be coming back and talking more with Lyons about Aloha and some more. So hang on and stay with us. Well, and while you're staying with us, I'm going to see if I can see the buttons. It's funny. Neutral Zone with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to thank No Ka'oi Motors Maui Car Rentals for their support. Located at 181 Dairy Road across from the fire station in Kahu, they've served the Maui community for more than 30 years with services in used cars and automobile rentals. Find them online at mauicarrentals.net or at 877-3300. The Neutral Zone is heard Mondays live at 11 a.m. and again on Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KAKU 88.5 FM.
Hawaii Youth Services Directory is online at 808youth.com. We envision a Hawaii where all youth are connected to the support they need to walk a pono path towards health, happiness, and abundance. 808youth.com is a free, easy-to-use online directory funded by the Office of Youth Services. If you're looking for a family-friendly event, check out our events calendar and connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Do you like comedy? Do you like music? Do you like finding out what's going on the fine island of Maui? Then you should tune in to The Tub on 88.5 FM. We air every Friday at 1 p.m. and repeat Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Me, Kimo Nevius, singer-songwriter, and an array of guests and regulars take you through everything that is happening here in our happy home. It's funny, it's delightful, it's the best thing you can do for an hour of your day. The Tub.
Hi, I'm Chuck Sauce, host of Biscuits and Gravy. KAKU is a listener-supported station. This means that all of the great programs you hear, like mine, are supported by you as well as our underwriters. If you would like to help keep the voice of Maui talking loud and clear, go to kakufm.org/donate today and give. Don't miss the Biscuits and Gravy Show Wednesdays at 11 a.m. 88.5 KAKU.
The Maui Youth Now Show, focusing on youth culture today. This weekly half-hour show is produced by and created for youth, taking the pulse of youth culture from an island perspective. Watch local news, current events, fun challenges, trending videos, game reviews, and learn about other youth in your community. New episodes air on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. on Akaku 55 or catch us on Vimeo.
Latino Connection, heard Fridays at noon, is brought to you by Maui Immigration Services at 2200 Main Street in Wailuku. Maui Immigration Services provides assistance for family or individuals seeking temporary or permanent citizenship in the U.S. For information, visit immigrationlawmaui.com or call 808-201-4303. That's 808-201-4303. Latino Connection, Fridays on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui.
Boy, and keep listening to these little things. That was the voice of our new, I guess, our station manager, Renee. She's been great. We have had all kinds of changes here. I'm hoping that the world more and more discovers 88.5 FM, KAKU, the voice of Maui. All of you out there, you know, have a voice, and you can call in and be part of our show even today if you'd like. 808-873-3435 is our call-in number. We are sitting at 333 Dairy Road in Kahului, right at the edge of the old swamp, Lyons. Remember when it was, I remember going down Dairy Road, and I'm only here since 88, so I'm a relative newcomer. That's only 30 years ago. But it was, when it rained, you knew if you were going that way, you had to sort of figure out how to avoid the lake that formed over here.
Yeah, it's such a massive change. I remember when there was no Kuialani Highway that cut right across to on the way to Lahaina, and because Dairy Road was just a dirt road, there was nothing on there, and now it turned into a major corridor, and then it now there's another bigger one, that goes from the airport out there, and wow, it's just so much change.
How do Hawaiians? I mean, people ask me. Someone asked me last night, with all the changes, this Mahi Pono buying 40,000 acres plus blah 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 of lands. Is there? I guess I know that there's things going on to try to get the Kingdom of Hawaii reestablished as long as I'm here. How do people react? I mean, how do you deal with that kind of thing?
Well, we go through phases, and we understand that we may not like everything, but some things are here to stay. We can try to hold on to those cultural things that we hold dear to. We can try to get some form of sovereignty, but the reality is that once we became a state, our chances of becoming an independent nation again, got less and less. And let me tell you something. My grandmother, she lived with the idea that someday we were going to be our Hawaiian nation, free and independent, clear again. And in August 1959, when we became a state, she sat down with me, and we talk a lot, and she said, "There is no hope. The Hawaiian nation is gone. Once we become a state, that's it." And she said, "But the Hawaiian people are not gone." And she was very disappointed because she was very strong about us becoming a nation again, and I inherited that, but also I inherited her idea that changes happen. We're not always in control of it. We can maintain who we are as Hawaiian people, as being of aloha and things like that. We could live our life being angry. We have to make a decision on how and who we are going to be, right? And I support all of those that are pushing to protect our culture and try to bring back our Hawaiian sovereignty, our nation again, and things like that. I support that. I don't get actively involved, but I also understand that that's a tough road. It's going to be a very tough road.
Well, what you said in there that I think is the one that I remember is that the Hawaiian culture needs to be respected and shared because of the richness of how that culture really has so much to give to the world. They're taking more of a leadership role because out here, 3,000 miles from another landmass was a fully functioning, wonderful, people that, when I hear that in Hana they had 50,000, huge numbers of people being supported off the land. And now, we're worried about food scarcity. We only have a small percent. That's just crazy. So, is that part of what you teach when you're teaching about medicine, or is that's a whole different subject?
The culture is who we are. We teach that, but the culture also reminds us where we came from. And if we know where we came from, then of course we know who we are. Right? And then of course it teaches us a sense of kuleana. We need to be sure that our youngsters, our future, the mua'i, needs to understand that they know who they are.
Kuleana, give our audience over. Kuleana means
that sense of responsibility.
Responsibility to oneself and our community. Our
ancestors had kuleana for us to be in aloha. We have a sense of kuleana for our people to be for our future to be in aloha. But aloha is great, but also we need to understand our culture, understand our language, understand who we come from, maintain our, land ownerships. Land ownership was not that important before, and now it's like you got nothing. you don't have land if you don't own the land you live on, and things like that. Kuleana is to be sure that the connection, the cultural connection, is not lost. And as our kuleana, to be sure that our future understands this is where you came from. Not just me, but behind me, and all the way to the beginning of time, the beginning of existence, right? Who we are. And we're lucky because, I teach in Europe a lot now. And most people there do not understand who they are or their culture beyond their great-grandfather. That's it. I know my culture. Right? My grandfather was this, and he came from Poland, and what happened before that? We don't know.
That's about as far as I know myself.
Yeah. For us, we have the kumulipo. We have other forms of connecting all the way back to, one of the first things my grandmother taught me. It was, Okeao ke kane ka pokawe ni Hana mai kalawa ka pa'ku o ka unua ke ki kane no. Right? And every so often she'll tell me that. Right? It means, Okeao ke kane, light was male, darkness was female. Hana mai kalawa, right? Born was existence. They came together and they had a child called ka pa'ku o ka unua, and it was a male child. And from then on, everything is born, all the way down to the sun, the moon, the plants, all the way down.
You mentioned Ku'ulipo. That's like a lineage in story. Fantastic, and also it wasn't really a written language, right?
No, it wasn't.
So it was shared on orally through all these generations.
And not unfortunately, which is, it's good that people have different versions of kumulipo. The kumulipo that is written is a kumulipo that came, to connect with Liliuokalani and that. But people had their own forms of when the beginning started, and it goes down, down the line. And there's only actually two kumulipos written. One is by Beckwith, I think, and the other one is by Liliuokalani. Right? But there are more kumulipos out there that are not yet written. And, they might be a little bit different, but they tell the same story all the way down. The details might be a little bit different, but they tell the same story all the way down.
And there's always, whenever I hear anything from Hawaiian, and I went to the college over here and I took a course I think everyone should take. Hawaii, the Center of the Pacific, where we got to really get closer to the history. And when we get into the culture, every aspect seems to always show respect, always honoring of the elders, honoring of things that really, I think, should be leading all over the world. I really hope that you as an ambassador of Aloha, we hope to do some more stuff like that with music and culture, and be able to be showing it to the world and let them see really a wonderful culture. I feel very blessed to be here, and I just hope that everyone can take a little time and really learn to respect that Hawaiian culture here. You know, music. When I got here in 1988, I saw music everywhere, and Hawaiian music and other music, and it just keeps getting less and less and less. And where do you get to celebrate Chair? I guess in families, people play family gatherings with music more. And
well, the music is out there, you know. Nowadays there's more competition. I mean, who's Hoku Hana awards and this and that. Everybody's kind of competing in there, but it really lives. It really lives, and you'd be surprised some of the great ambassadors that we had, because like I say, is Kamakawiwa Ole.
Sure.
He is one of the most popular persons, his music, in Europe. Everybody knows is. I mean,
that's wonderful.
Stores you go in and is and things like that. And the other thing is that, modern people are starting to look more and more at indigenous people or native people for guidance in spirituality. Things in the modern world are not working. They're going haywire. Right? And they see that the native cultures are softer, they continue to exist, even though they're dominated by these big nations and cultures and things like that. Somehow they continue to exist. And one of the reasons I'm up there is not because I went up looking, is because I was asked to go up and do something and things like that. And I don't know, can I share the story of how I started?
Sure.
Okay, I was on a boat in Tahiti with some friends, drinking beer, and I got a message that there was a museum in Munchen that wanted me to come up to there and help with the museum. And I said, Munchen? What the heck is Munchen?
Is that Munich?
Yeah. And eventually I found out it was Munich. And I said, we wanted you to come up and help us with our museum. We're going to do this whole Oceania thing, but we need a cultural person, expert to me, expert. And, immediately I said, no, I got no time to go to Munchen, and I want to go to Munchen for, up there. And I said, no, And they wrote back, oh, whatever you want, you can have. And I started to get really cocky. Yeah, I want first class, and I want a limousine, and all these kind of things like that. And
they said, okay.
They said, okay. And my friends are like, yeah, local boy, you gave your word. Now what you gonna do? I said, oh shoot, man. I said I would come if they did that. They said, yeah. So I wrote back and I said, you know what? Forget all that first class stuff. I'll come up and help you out. And I found out it was Munich. And it was the State Museum of Ethnology. And they wanted to put on this exhibit. Right? And they asked me to come up and help them and do that, And, and I said, you have a doctor, a person with a doctor in the front of the name that's supposed to be the expert on Oceania. Why do you need me? Well, basically they knew, and I knew too, that there was a lot of gaps in there that needed to be filled out. The most important gaps was the spiritual, the rituals, the ceremonies that are needed, because all of those artifacts that were taken by Captain Cook and all these other people that are now owned by the museum, right?
Yeah.
Those artifacts are actually our ancestors, and they have feelings and things that they have to be treated properly and things like that. So I went up there and we did our ceremonies and things like that. I helped them, this feather cape does not belong, does not hang with this white dress over here, and it needs to be here, it needs to be, all these type of things. And, they're starting to look at the indigenous cultures and realize that there's something special about them that makes them survive no matter what happens. Especially the German-speaking countries really went downhill after the Second World War, right? Because of the defeat, and Russia treated them this way, America treated them that way, and they became almost like nothing, right? And they're not as bad as what Native people go through, losing their language and things like that. Yet the Native people continue to strive and become strong. Yeah. They continue. And foreign people, I know the German-speaking countries that I go to, is just Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, they're like fascinated on this culture. And how can these people continue aloha? How can they continue to sing and things like that and smile and say, hey, stuff like that, after going through much worse things than they went through. So,
Yeah, that's something. Mm-hmm. Well, I when I hear about that kind of stuff, that's where Aloha really has so much to teach the world. Mm-hmm. And so that's a great thing that you're doing. Yeah. I hope that we can...
But it's really tough, right? The world situation, the American situation, all these things are going. It's really tough, and to maintain that aloha, right? But if we can maintain aloha, first of all, in who we are in our land,
yeah,
and if we can maintain aloha within our ohana, our families, right? Aloha with everybody else in the world is easy. It's easy. Why? Because if we live aloha in our land and who we are, if we live aloha in our families, those roots, you cannot take those roots out,
right?
No matter what. And you can go somewhere. I travel in these airports and people are like grumpy as hell. They're like, yeah. And you think, God, I hope I don't become like that, and.
But you carry who you are with you,
yeah,
and you're really a shining example.
Well, our ancestors gave us that gift. They gave us the gift of aloha. Actually, Mother Earth gave us that gift. Our ancestors, reinforced that in us, among each other, right? And so no matter what happens, we're not going to lose it. We're not going to lose it. No matter what people do to us, to each other, and things like that, at some point we're going to have to get along.
Well, this is a good point. Yeah. I remember, just my own little statement. Mm-hmm. I remember I looked back at my high school yearbook, and my quote in my yearbook was, don't discriminate. Goodness comes in many colors. I wonder why that was my quote in high school.
Wow, that's impressive.
So I was just aware how the world was. When I grew up, my father was a manager of a department store, retail, mm-hmm. and the first store he got was in Harlem, which is in New York, mm-hmm. which is, predominantly black, and most people thought that, how could that possibly be? It was a different time. I felt aloha. Everyone in the store and everyone that I knew when I grew up were black, and I never had any kind of thoughts mm-hmm. about it. It was only afterwards, looking back, and people making judgments. It's that, it's such a natural thing to love each other if we just mm-hmm. allow it to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's an allowing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you built it from here, from personal, and then your community, and it should just be a natural thing mm-hmm. to share throughout the world.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're at the time where, like you say, the world is going crazy. So something good is an even brighter light. So I thank you for all that you do.
There's so much turmoil going on in the United States, in the world. You just kind of hope that they just kind of wake up and say, hey, you know what, we're hurting ourselves. Let's get along. Let's live together. And so that's Aloha.
Do you see many changes I'm just mentioning, in Hana? I know, has Hana changed itself over time in a big way? It seems always the same when I go. The things are built, but it still maintains a quiet, different kind of presence. I don't know how to even explain.
It's interesting, Over here, there's changes. Changes are like building is down, building is up. And in Hana, maybe a house is built. I remember once, I was giving directions to somebody, and they said, you go down there, right, and until you see the purple house, then you turn left. And so a younger person said, Uncle, they painted the house. So I said, okay, you go down there and you go to the house that used to be purple and you turn left. And he says, what color is it now? And I said, I got no idea what color it is now, but it used to be purple. And it's like, and it was painted 5 years ago, 5 years before it's that kind of stuff. Right? But what doesn't change, right, is that how people are there. That doesn't change. Yes, they get stronger in sovereignty and things like that, but when it comes down to greeting a stranger and how to interact with their families and things like that, that doesn't change at all. And so what happens is that the place doesn't change. It's the same, and we don't really want it to change. There's some talk about maybe a big subdivision coming up,
Really?
Wealthy subdivision and things like that and stuff like that. But we're kind of hoping that it's not going to change too much. Hasegawa store is still Hasegawa store. The Hasegawa store right now is in the old movie theater, right? Because the old Hasegawa store burned down years ago, and they're talking about building a new Hasegawa store, and but it's basically the same. And I tell you what, the first chance, I almost never go to Honolulu. Why? It's like landing in LA, even worse. And I almost never come out here. I come out here maybe once a week or something, only because I have to. And as soon as I can get back to Hana, I'm going to go back. Right? And I'm going to pick the time to travel when the tourist traffic is the least.
Well, that tourist traffic is something.
I tell you.
When will they say? I've heard people talk about carrying capacity. There's not enough roads, not enough place to park. You go to Kipuhulu to the falls there, and it's like a city of cars and people.
It is
too much. Too much.
The strategic plan for the national park. At one time we were talking about it, and they said, "Well, we want to enlarge the parking lot and things like that," and we were kind of complaining, why do you want to enlarge the parking lot? I said, well, it's not big enough, then there's no place for cars. I said, well, it's never going to be big enough. You need to bring tourists up there in a different way, and you're just going to enlarge, and it's just going to the crowd gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's over the top.
Let's do some quality changes where we can, we want to minimize the impact of the national park, and things like that. And with more and more and more rental cars, and
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, do you think we're going to have? I don't know. I guess it's just a think. Now that we have a new mayor and council, can they draw a line and say, okay, no more cars? When I drive between here and the airport and I see fields filled of new cars that are part of a new rental fleet, just extraordinary.
Yeah.
How many vehicles we have here? What are we doing?
I don't know if they can do that. You kind of hope that they would. I think they're sensitive to that, the new mayor, Mike.
Yeah.
The old friend, long-time friend. Now I have to Mayor, instead of, hey, Mike, how's it? That kind of stuff like that.
But I know he's sensitive to it.
He is.
And
he is.
I just hope that we really, all of us, kind of really relook at this thing and stop,
Yeah.
and start to handle the things that maybe we here locally might need.
I think Mike's a good person.
Yeah,
I think Mike's a good person. I think he'll, do good things for the county, and Ellie's a good person too. But Mike's there now, and I like Alan. Yeah.
Well,
we had our clashes and stuff
I
like
think
that.
these
But
guys, I keep thinking the power is with us, the people. Then the government should, as we do, they can help us make it better by making laws that will support what we're doing. But I still think it's up to us.
Yeah.
And I hope that we learn to embrace more of what's going on with the Hawaiian culture and build and do things based on the more traditional and stop where it's going.
Yeah, I'm in the movie Kuleana,
Yeah.
and Mike showed it on his campaign. He showed it in Hana, and I was with him, and I pulled him to the side. I says, Mike, you know what? If you ever need help with culture, if you think I can help you, give me a call. I'll sit on your board. I'll do whatever I can do.
Good.
And he said, you got it, brother.
Can you believe we're running out of time? We got another
No.
30 seconds or something?
Huh?
My goodness. Lyons Naone, Kahu Lyons Naone from Hana. I'm Jason Schwartz. We're going to have to do this again, Lyons. Have a wonderful trip to Europe. Thank you for being with us.
We done already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing quick.
Hey.
Take care, everyone.
Mahalo.
That was quick. The Neutral Zone, with me, Jason Schwartz, would like to thank No Ka'oi Motors Maui Car Rentals for their support. Located at 181 Dairy Road across from the fire station in Kaului, they've served the Maui community for more than 30 years with services in used cars and automobile rentals.